Thanks again for joining us for Microsoft Dynamics SL Sharing Information. At this time, it is my pleasure to introduce today's presenter, Jeff Sewin. Jeff, you now have the floor.
Thank you very much, Heather, and thanks to everyone who's come out today to learn about sharing with Microsoft Dynamics SL. Woo! Okay, let's get started, Jeff. So today's session is really focused on how do you share information. There's many different ways you can do it inside Dynamics SL. And my goal today is to focus on some of the top items that we came up with. So the ones that we're going to focus on today are features like DocShare, Quick Send, the standard ROI reporting feature and what you can do around sharing information there, Quick Query, and some of the ways you can get data out to share with other people, the Business Analyzer feature and how that can work with sharing information, and last but not least, some things that are web app related. So we'll be doing a walkthrough of all these different features today. It'll be a combination of slides, and I purposely went down the slide route so that the actual attachment that you have here goes through a lot of the steps that you need to take when you're using some of these features, and I felt that some of them were probably detailed enough that a slide would probably be something you could take away and use in trying to implement these features. So it's a combination of both. I will jump in live as makes sense as we go through this process. So that's the focus for today, and I will go ahead and get started. Again, if you have any questions, go ahead and type them in, and I'll go ahead and address them, hopefully, if I see them, but if not, at the end of the session as well. So the first thing that we're going to focus on is the sharing of information. I print out these reports all the time, and invoices, purchase orders, and people always ask me questions about them. So what I need to do, the first question is, I want to share these somewhere else other than having to put them in a filing cabinet. So right now, if you've been using SL for years or any accounting system, you're used to printing things out and filing them away. And then when someone says, hey, what about that purchase order, or what about that invoice? A lot of times, if they're not SL people, you're going to, go down, find that exact filing cabinet, pull the document, bring it back, and go from that process. So there needs to be a better way to do that. Remove the idea of I need a filing cabinet to making it available to other people to use. And so I want people to be able to view this information. I want them to be able to use it. Maybe they have a question, they need to look into something. I want to make that available. And that is really where the whole idea of the DocShare functionality came about. It was basically a way to take standard SL reports or functionalities, invoices, purchase orders, and so forth, and be able to, instead of print them out on your printer, upload them directly to a SharePoint site. So it can be a standard on-premise SharePoint site, could be SharePoint 2010, SharePoint 2013, whatever version you have, and it allows you to upload that document to that site. So that is one way. We also support the idea of Office 365, which also has the idea of SharePoint Online. So what you can also do is share those documents up to a site, but that's in the cloud. So kind of like a SkyDrive idea, but basically a SharePoint site that can be up in the cloud. Now, benefits of both, obviously, with SharePoint, you do get a lot of the core SharePoint functionality built into a lot of the into your operating system. So if you're running 2008 R2 for your server or Windows 2012, you can install a lot of the free versions of SharePoint, and that's really all we need. If you'd like to take it further than that, great. Hey, Jeff, we already have SharePoint up online. I'd like to connect to it. That is obviously a possibility as well. And the idea is that we're taking certain documents and uploading for you directly, and it's usually at the click of the button, sometimes automated, but mostly at the click of a button, so you do have control of what you're sending up there. Now, what are the types of documents we support? Well, there are numerous customer and, well, one vendor document. It ranges from AR invoices to project flexible billings and so forth. Even to the order management area, and invoices that come off of that can be uploaded, as well as the purchasing document. So those are the type of documents that you have available for you to be able to send up to these SharePoint sites. So let's next, you can also choose how these documents are saved. So we're taking a document, a report, and we're deciding that we would like to put it out on a SharePoint site. It is up to you for us to tell us how do you want to save this. I would think, to be honest with you, and it's kind of highlighted here, that most of the times you're going to want to put a document out there in a PDF format. And obviously the huge benefit here is that, that invoice, that purchase order is locked in and it looks exactly the way it was when you generated that. If you could technically export it as a Word document, but then that kind of opens it up that someone could open up that Word document and make changes to it. Now, you might say in some other cases, that's better, I need that, I'd like to have it, it's more searchable, or you like the idea of putting it in Word. Again, you have all these standard features. This is the standard functionality of exporting something in a document or in a certain reporter like writer like Crystal. So you have that functionality. So again, it is up to you to decide that, and you can tell us exactly how you'd like to save those documents. Now, as far as how do I set up the whole process, I did do some screenshots here. So to be able to set up DocShare, you do have basically 3 different places that it can be set up. The vendor maintenance, customer maintenance, and project maintenance screen. Now, there are more technical setups, and there's been sessions done on this in the past, but I won't go too deep. But there are some technical things you do need to set up in the system to let it know that it is available for you to set up. You do need to set up to let us know exactly whether you're doing vendor, customer, or project items. So there is a setup screen that goes around that, and that's usually where you're making your initial connection. And in that setup as well, as you're telling us, well, where do you want to store these documents? Generally I like to put my vendor documents in a certain location, my customer documents in another location, and my project documents in another area. But assuming that that's all set up, the end user interaction will be what we're seeing here, where you can kind of see it highlighted in red there. There will be a button added to the screens. And when you click on that screen, it's going to pull up the screen that you see below it. And the idea behind there is that, in this case, I've already created my site, but the idea is what you can do is you can connect to a brand new site. You can say, I will need to create a brand new site for this customer or project or vendor. The other way you can do it is, instead of setting up a site for every single vendor, I'd like to create that one generic site and then just put the vendors' names hanging off of there, and we'll put the documents under there. Or the third way you can do it is you can say, hey, I already have SharePoint set up. We've been using SharePoint a while. I'd like to connect to an existing site. And you have that functionality as well. So that is that section highlighted right in red right there as to how do you want to connect. Now, out of the box, based on usually how you're going to set up, it's going to usually default to that first option where it says, if there isn't a site set up, I'm going to allow you to go ahead and we'll create the site for you. Now, a couple things to note about it. When you're setting it up, it's going to default to a location that you see set up on the screen. And that's generally, you're not going to want to mess with that because you've already told it in setup that this is where you'd like to put it. But the next 2 areas are ones that I do tell you that you probably should take some time to set up. It will default to, for example, it could default to just putting the site title or the site description to be something like the vendor ID, which is fine, but I would generally take the stance that you probably want to put a little bit more information in there. You might want to decide to put the full description in there, a better description or a better title, so that when people are using it, it jumps out at them more than seeing something like, V001 or C001 or something to that effect. Now, once that information is set up, what it does is it means that when you come into screens, and that was my vendor maintenance screen, so we'll do the simple example here. When I come into my purchase order screen, I'll have a new option enabled, and that's the one highlighted in red right there. So again, first I need to set up my vendor to let them know that, yes, I want you to start putting things out here. And then secondly, when I come into a screen like the vendor maintenance screen, the new option will be to publish to a SharePoint site. And what will happen is that we'll go ahead and it'll say that it's uploaded it to a SharePoint site. There's not much action going on here, but it'll just pop up a message saying that it has completed its task. And then if you wanted to click and actually see, hey, did it actually upload it, you'll see in the very top highlighted in red as well, there will be an icon here that will link you right to that SharePoint site that I just uploaded it to. So if I go ahead and click on that, it would take me right to the screen. It would take me to the area where I could go ahead and see, yep, it has successfully uploaded my purchase order up to that site. So again, all my purchase orders are up there. I'm storing them as PDFs so they can be viewed by other people but not altered, and then it is available. Now, once we set up this site for you, this is another thing to keep in mind is that, great, Jeff, you set up a cool SharePoint site from my vendor, it's storing all the purchase orders, but now you can use it really for whatever you want. You've got a SharePoint site up for a vendor. What else do you need? Do you want to start storing correspondence in a different folder? Do I want to change the look, the feel? I mean, you could even technically open it up to your vendor to say, hey, if you ever want to check on how where your purchase orders are or what purchase orders we've received or created for you, come on into the site. You can view what we've already set up and what we've put into the purchasing system. So the options are limitless. Again, once it's in SharePoint, it's available to share either internally or externally with people as well. So again, kind of saying what I was talking about here, the other thing about SharePoint is that it can be something, obviously if you're deploying it locally inside your company, it's something that employees can get to inside. But again, opening it up to the outside world is a possibility as well. And just reiterating what I said, you could open it up to a customer to be able to view maybe the status of their sales orders. So they could, instead of having to call you, you could send them out to the site. And any updates to your sales order could be posted to that site. Vendors, they could look at their purchase orders. Remote employees, you're not at home and you want to be able to view this information. Someone's calling me about a problem with a purchase order. I don't have access to SL for some reason, though we'll talk about how you can do some of this more stuff later. I don't have access to it. Can I quickly look at that document? So you could open it up for remote employees. So again, lots of different options for you to set up and discuss. Now, the next feature we're going to talk about is Quick Send. And it's similar in the fact that instead of telling you that we want to take a document and save it up to a site, we want to actually deliver a document to a customer, to a vendor, or to an employee. So this comes into the process that instead of me having to, generate the purchase order, print it out, or maybe be smart enough to save it to my desktop, pull up my email, find the right person, create my email, attach the information, remember to put in, the proper header and text out there. Again, not the hardest thing in the world, but wouldn't it be nice if you could make it easier so I don't have to duplicate effort and make things, doing redundant tasks over is really where we're focusing on here with Quick Send. Make it easier to email or fax documents directly to these people. With that, we have the Quick Send feature. Again, the whole idea is to automate those processes. Now, as far as what we work with a lot of the things that we talked about over in the DocShare feature. Again, being able to say AR invoices, AR statements, shipping notices for order management, purchase orders. We also add in the fact that now we can also do payroll direct deposit slips to your employees. So if you're using direct deposit, you can have it automatically notify the person. They can get their email saying, yes, your check has been deposited and here's the information. So those are the areas that we focus on. Again, very similar to DocShare, obviously, the payroll part being new. Now, so as far as the formats, you've got that similar type of information we can set up just as we have in DocShare, so I won't spend much time on that. And then similar to what we had over in the setup screens for DocShare, we have something similar, but we have an exact tab that you can set up for vendors, customers, or projects. So instead of being an icon at the top like we had for DocShare, now this is just a new, brand new tab, which hopefully you've seen. It's been there for at least the last 2 versions here. And if we come to the screen, it's got a lot of setup information. Again, we're not going to go into all the details, but you can set up some of the default things in the setup screen. So you can say for quick sends, when you're doing a purchase order, it's generally going to be an email and its priority is going to be normal. So you can set some of this information up as default values that are generally going to be used. But then when you actually go into the vendor, in this case, and set them up, you do need to go through and validate and set up some information. For example, this way I've chosen that I'm delivering a quick send purchase order via email. As you can see, I can set the priority. I can say who is the person who is to get the email, who they need to reply to. And then we go down into things, how should I want to attach it, a Word document, all those things. If we were using fax, then we have the ability to put in the fax information as well. And then at the bottom of the screen, and I'll give you more details around, that is where we can type in our information that needs to be sent in the email automatically. For example, this one gives you an example where it's generic text. I'm going to show you here in a couple of seconds how you can actually use some wildcarding, as I will call it, to populate your email with information pertinent to what you're sending. But again, you will set this up for every single vendor, customer, or project. But keep in mind, if you don't want to send it up, you do not have to. So you can have some customers or vendors set up as quick send being turned on. You can choose to come here at a later time, say, you know what, something's changed or we're having an issue, and turn it off. But you do have that flexibility to turn things on and off. So what is the process? Well, kind of similar to what we had over there. In the DocShare world, you're going to get a button on the purchasing screen that you click the button, and basically all you're going to see on screen is that, yes, you've successfully requested your quick send. So that would go through. So for the end user, it's not much of an experience. Note that when it is happening, the actual emailing of that information is happening at the server level, not here at my local machine, which is nice. I don't need to worry about having my email up or anything. It's actually going to do it at the server for me, so you don't need to worry about that. Again, another thing to think about for your setup. Now, the other option that you have on the screen is that you might have said, hey, we don't have this person set up as a quick send user, but you know what? I'd love to actually email it to them right now, maybe test it out, see if they're okay with me doing this. So you do have another button on the screen that allows you to say, I'm going to do what we call a one-time, meaning that we're not officially setting up quick send for this vendor, but I'm going to allow you to go ahead and put in that information now and put all the details that you need to be able to go ahead and do this. So you have the ability to go ahead into the screen, view the information, and then put in information for this one-time receiver and send a quick send. Now, I think I left it out just because of time, but note that you also, and I'll see if I left it here. Yeah, I did not put it in there. You also have the ability to view any quick sends that have been sent. So things could happen with your quick send. Your quick sends could go, but you could have put in the improper email address when you set them up. Going to happen, no problem. There is a button to pull up and view all your quick sends. You can view the history, view what went, view what might not have gone successfully, make edits to it, change the email address, put in the proper email address, and resend it. So there's a whole process around there, and again, I didn't include it just because of all the stuff I'm doing today. And if you'd like to learn about that more, there are definitely information out there to learn how to do that. Now, one item just to show you, as I thought was an important thing to note, is that there are what I call wildcarding or templates that you can put into your email. So, for example, you see right here in the vendor maintenance screen, we put in, this is a purchase order for, and then we put in the greater than less than signs, company name, and we also put in things like reference number and document amount. Now, because we put it into the system that way, when it actually sends the email, it grabs the information and says, yep, this is the name of your company, this is the purchase order number, this is the total amount. Again, it gives you a better look because it looks more official, because it has real information and less of a generic template that you're sending out to people. So you have that available as well. All right, so that's quick send. Now, the next thing is around our standard reporting. Okay, so we've talked about emailing things, putting things up on a site to share it with other people. Now let's talk about where we're usually at when we're talking about reports, which is in the lovely ROI interface, whether that's a Crystal report or an SSRS report. Now, while we're in there, there's a lot of needs to be able to say, oh, this is a great report, and this may be more internal, but you could be running a report, maybe a vendor trial balance or a report giving you information on a specific vendor or customer, and you're looking on the screen and go, you know what, I'd love to share this with them. Now, as a lot of us know, unfortunately, that functionality was removed in 2011, not by our choice, but just by the company who creates the report. So what we've done here in SL 2015, and this I will note the things that are 2015, we have actually added that capability back. So when you are previewing a report, whether it's a Crystal report or an SSRS report, you do have the capabilities while looking at it to go ahead and send it to someone. Now the way it will work is you've got this new icon that's been added. You click on the icon, it will pull up the screen that you see there. Now the screen is basically saying to you, if I go ahead and attach this, what do you want to save it as? And similar to what we have in DocShare and Quicksend, you have a drop-down box listing all the common types of documents that you would like to create. Again, PDF probably being the one that you'd want to use if it's something that you don't want anybody to alter. So all we need to do is let it default there, click OK, and as we click OK, what will happen is it will actually go ahead and interact directly with our email client. In this case, it's going to Outlook. We'll be looking to work with Outlook. Pull it up. It's already attached it, and all it needs to do now is for me to type in the proper email address, and it is available for you to send. So that is available to you. Again, another way to share information. I've got a report. Oh, I'd love, for Heather to take a look at this. I'm going to email it to her, so I go ahead and email that to her. So again, another example of sharing. Now, another example might be that this is some great information, and you know that a lot of our reports that we use in the financial world is kind of an Excel type format report. So you might need to export the information to be able to share it with somebody and attach it, because you might need to do a little working around with it. So since we were on the ROI, I did also want to pull up the point that you also have the ability to do that when you're previewing a report. So you'll have that standard icon, and actually it sits right here in this case next to our email icon. But if you click on that option, it will go ahead, pop up a screen that will allow you to go ahead and save that Excel report. Now what it will do, again, give you the options here to save it as a PDF, Excel. Now if you're running something like a report that's like your trial balance report that lends itself to the idea of Excel, you can go ahead and choose that and go ahead and export. One thing to note that I just recently ran into is that note that for some reason the way that they've written this, again, our friends at Crystal have done this, not us, is that when you create an Excel document, you used to automatically open it. Now in 2015, you actually have to go get the file and open it. Can't tell you why it's doing that. It's not something that we are doing, unfortunately, because I would tell them to fix it. But when it exports a document, it's going to be out there, and then you can go ahead and open it, and now the document. So do know in 2015 it is an extra click to get that item open. But again, we can export that document. Now it is in a format that we can share with people. It's inside the system on a report that you don't want someone to go into the system to see. Now it's in a document that I can share with other people. The next thing, to kind of build off the idea of the DocShare feature, which uploads documents directly to a SharePoint site, you noted that if you remember back on my screenshot that it didn't do every single report. In fact, it was only specific reports that it would automatically upload for you. Invoices, order management items, purchase orders. So what we've done here is we've added functionality to the standard ROI screen, which we were just talking about, that will allow me to, instead of print out the report to my printer or preview the report, I can actually automatically upload that report to a SharePoint site. Very, very cool feature. How does it work? Well, I purposely did this as a click-through so you could have this information with you, but we'll walk through quickly how this works. Now, the first thing you'll do is you'll click on the printer setup options, printer options that you see listed on the screen, and you will see a box that's available to you. And if you're on SL 2011 or later, you will see this box. That if you click on it, it will go ahead and allow us to say, okay, yep, I want to upload it to SharePoint. Now, once I tell it that I want to upload it to SharePoint, I now need to tell it, well, where do you want to put it, Jeff? So if I click on that setup button, it's going to go ahead, open up a screen. Now, when it opens up, it's going to say, okay, yep, I'm ready for you. I'm going to go ahead, and you first need to tell me what you want to save it as. So where it says file name, if you really want to it'll go ahead and default to the proper name, but if you want to type in something, that's great as well. Then you can use the drop-down box and choose exactly whether it's a PDF, Word document, and so forth. Now, the next thing is to give us where you want to store it. Now, if you happen to be really, really smart and you know exactly where you want to put it, go ahead and put it in. But more than likely, you're going to have to use the F3 key to do a lookup on that information. And what that will do is pull up a screen where you will see a list of the previously used SharePoint sites from this. So you can see recently I've used the shared documents in these two different locations to go ahead and store my documents. So if they're there, I can just click on it, boom, I'm done. So very, very cool recent ones there. I click it, click OK, and we'll see what that, click OK, and then upload it. But a lot of times you're not going to know, especially for your first time. So we also include some great search capabilities. So if you click on search, pull up the screen, and then what it's going to allow me to do is put in a location. Like, for example, if you're using your SharePoint server, and then my SharePoint server happens to be on this Dynamics 01 box. So I just put in http:// Dynamics 01, and then I don't have to put all the addresses. I just need to click OK. And what I like about this is that all of a sudden it will go out and say, okay, you've told me search out there. What it did is it went out to that location and it found all the valid addresses that are out underneath that particular server that I specified. So now if I was wondering where is that find up there, I forget what's the exact email, or not email, the exact URL. Now I can go ahead and search for it. So now I search for it, find the one that I want, click OK. It goes ahead, and as I click OK, you can see now I have it populated the exact SharePoint location. Now again, if I knew it before, I could have typed it in. I'm not sure, maybe you're really good and you know those addresses, or you could have copied it in. But this way I can find it, choose it, and once I've gone ahead and chosen it, I can click OK, and that will allow me to go ahead, and as I come back to the screen, I'll click OK again. The big difference you'll notice in the ROI screen is that now, instead of saying print, we now have this upload option. So now we can see that instead of printing, it will go ahead and upload it. So I can click on upload it, and then it automatically uploads that document to the directory. So now it's there. It's available for me to use and available for me to point someone to that location. Again, the benefit of this is that this is any SL report, whether it's an SSRS report or a Crystal report that's in the rich client, you now have the ability to upload it to a site. So that's the benefit here of using ROI and this new upload to SharePoint. All right, the next thing about sharing information is around our quick query feature. Now I'm sure you've heard about it, but if not, I'll give you the 5-cent tour. Now the idea of why do we have quick query? Well, different items you see listed here. One is a way to find an answer to a question. People who have been using the reports in the past, you may have come up with the 1 or 2 or 3 different reports that you need to run to answer a question. It's a lot quicker if you can actually go to a screen where you can interact with the data. So it's a way to find answers to SL-related questions. Another thing is to do is once you find information in the quick query, it allows you to actually drill back either to the entry or the maintenance screen related to what you're looking at. So maybe I'm looking for an invoice, a purchase order, or something to that effect. Once I find it in my quick query screen, I can actually drill back to the original entry and take a look at it or continue to work on it. We can also, and here comes our sharing, we can also export this information to share or analyze information. So you might have a listing of vendor-related information, customer-related information that you want to share with somebody inside the company or with a specific customer or vendor. We can take that data from quick query, export it out, and be able to share it. Now the other thing you can also do, which we've talked about in the past, is that you can also take that information from a quick query and turn it into an SSRS report. So we can actually take that quick query, run through a wizard, which will generate and create reports for us to be able to move forward. So you've got a great ability to do this. Now again, for those of you not familiar with quick query, it is over 100, and I think we're at 110 or 120. Don't hold me to that, but around that mark for all the different types of quick queries that we predefine. Now, great tool. We can take a look at it, but the thing that we always have to remember as well is that quick query is something that we can use internally with all those great predefined views, but also it's built that we assume that it doesn't matter how many. I could give you 100, Ted. I could give you a 200 or 300. It doesn't matter how many we give you. You need the ability to make it your own. So we expect that you, as a customer, to either customize it yourself or work with your partner to customize these quick queries or add new quick queries to make it work better for you. So again, just a little side note about quick query. Now, the things that we've enhanced in SL 2015 around sharing Excel documents, sharing that information with other people. So we're going to look at that in a second. And again, as I talked about, we can also go ahead and take this information and create our own reports. Don't think we'll have time to get through all of that, but we will go ahead and at least jump into here right now into the quick query feature and walk you through some of the new features that we've had. So right now I'm going to go ahead and share my desktop. Again, it's going to take a second here for me to load it. All right. And shortly you will see it's probably saying loading on your screen. Don't worry, it will be coming there soon. And you should now see my Dynamics SL interface. If you need to make it look bigger, there is a button that will allow you to go to full screen because I think I'm running a little bit higher resolution than normal today. So again, the value of the quick query is that all this information on the screen is completely customizable, movable. So what do I mean by that? Well, we're used to running a crystal report where everything's kind of set in stone and that's the way it looks. I can't really change anything, and if I want to, I need to have someone who knows how to write a report edit it. And so what we've done here with the idea of quick query is everything is movable on the screen. So I can move things around. Looks like my future balance is something that I don't need, so I can actually remove it on the fly. I can move things around. I can rename them. I can do whatever I want. So we have that functionality to view this great information. We have the ability to then also do our filtering. So I need to filter where customer ID contains the value 01. Again, updates my information on the screen automatically. Again, a way to find the information. And then, as I said, if I get to this is the document they were talking about, I could go back and go either, in this case, to the customer maintenance or customer inquiry. Or depending on the quick query, I can even drill back to the original transaction. So you have that functionality. But what I want to talk about to you today is the feature of Excel and how we can use it to share information. Now, if you are running on SL 2011, hopefully you've seen quick query before. Hopefully this is not new. But you have the ability to take that data and go, oh, this is great. I've got all the customer IDs that have 01 in it. I was asked about that. I'm going to go ahead and click on the export button. And now I've got an Excel document out there. Now, the beauty of this Excel document is that it comes pre-loaded with column headers, and it even comes with the ability to sort and select and filter things on the fly. And I can take this information, move things around. I can turn this into a report, a pie chart, a bar chart, whatever makes sense for the data that's sitting inside your Excel document. But the thing the information that we got from a lot of our users is that this is awesome, but here's the problem. The second I press that button, this data is static. I can't really use it anymore. So what they asked us to do is to create what I'm calling a connected Excel document or a refreshable Excel document. So let's talk about what that means. We have these 3 new options listed under here for 2015. I'm going to choose the query table because it's going to look really familiar. Only things that are slightly different is you do have some capabilities of choosing exactly what you want to export. Export everything, just the rows that have filters or columns, so you do get some extra features there. But the basic functionality is the same. So I go ahead and I click the export button, it creates the document. And if I go ahead and pull that up, you might say to yourself, hey Jeff, that looks exactly like what you had before. And I would say visually you were 100% correct, but the big difference is on the back end. What do we mean by that? Well, what's happened in this process is if I click on the connections button, it has actually created a special connection for this Excel document right to the quick query that's in the SL database. So it doesn't need to run SL, it's going right to there. But what it's based on is it says, Jeff, you were given access rights to run this query and hit this view. So I will allow you, and I will write the script to connect you there directly so you don't have to run SL to view the information. Very important thing, this is strictly for viewing. Anything I change on this document will not update SL. It's strictly a view of that information. And then it also creates this lovely SQL script for my SQL people out there that allows me to, what it allows me to do? Well, it allows me to come in here at any time and hit the refresh button and know that all the data on this screen is the latest and greatest. So all the latest balances, my current balance goes down because it's been paid, that will be updated. So a huge benefit. Now I've got this information, I can choose to share it with other people. Now, if you are going to share it, you will need to get either with your partner or with your database administrator about who are the other people that you want to give access rights to. You're going to actually have to give them access rights to that query for you to be able to connect to it, but you do have that capabilities to do as well. But again, I had information inside the SL system. I exported it out to Excel. It's available now for me to share. We talked about SharePoint. I could even upload that document to a SharePoint site. We'll take a look at that actually here a little bit later. So we do have that ability to do the query table. Pivot tables, we can also do refreshable pivot tables. If you're a person who does pivot tables, you can do that as well, and that is available to you. And the other option, connection, very similar to these two. It just creates your connection for you, and then you can choose, once that connection is made, what you'd like to do with that data. So a lot of people ask me, why do we have three? Connection is just strictly making the SQL connection and making the security connection. Query tables doing the exact same thing, but it's building the table for you. Pivot table is the exact same thing, but it's building the pivot table, or at least a place to start. So just think of these of just, this is the simple connection, and this is just taking you one or two steps further. And basically it's cutting out a couple steps that you would have to take in Excel anyway. So that's the quick on how do I get data out to be able to share with other people. You could use this for PowerPoint presentations, use it to put up on a SharePoint site, as we said as well. Now, another way to share this information is to use the Generate SSRS Report button. Again, this is something that's been available since SL 2011. So it is available to you if you're on SL 2011 feature pack. I'm wavering on that, I apologize, but it is available to you. Now, as far as what you can do, it can create basically three different types of report. It can create a detailed report for you, it can create a summary report, and the column report. And the nice thing about it, and I'm looking at my time, I don't have time to go through it, but hopefully you've seen this before, and if not, contact me and I'll give you my address. We can walk you through it, but basically what it will do is allow you to create a detailed report, and I'll just do the simple one first by allowing you to quickly just go through a couple clicks, and when someone connects to my detailed report, I want them to pass me their customer ID. So I can quickly click through these, tell it what columns I want to make, go ahead here, and then hit the Generate button. So it goes ahead and creates that report for me. So once that report is created, it's going to go ahead and upload it to the SharePoint site, or I'm sorry, the SSRS report site. Now this is a report that is available for people to go and view. So it's firing up here for the first time, so there we go. So now we've got that document up there. So that's the customer detail report, customer balance detail report. So this is the one I just created. I can go ahead and double click on it, and it will allow me to go ahead and view the information in that report. So again, it's available for you to run and view the information, generate your own reports. So very cool feature that. Now the cool thing that I like about it as well is once you create the details, it takes you back. It will automatically create the summary report for you, then the chart. And if you've ever seen me, we'll look at these actually here in a second with our business analyzer. The big benefit of this is that you can use it to go to those reports, which I just showed you that site. You can also choose to create these documents to be able to be shared using our business analyzer feature, and we will talk about that here in just a few minutes. All right, so let me go ahead and we will jump back to our presentation. All right, sorry about that, folks. And there we are, sorry. So I will go back to presenting our sharing deck. So again, we walked through Quick Query. I quickly showed you some of the things there. I know I had to I can't go as much details, basically just on time, but I would be happy to talk to you if you have any questions. Now, the most common question I get about, and I did say this already, but do I have Quick Query? Well, if you're on SL 2011 or later, you do have it. Things to note is if you've looked at it before and you may have had issues with speed or issues with the lack of data being loaded because you thought something was wrong. There are a lot of settings that you need to talk to, so make sure you talk to your partner about them. And know that we have continually increased and sped up the product throughout its existence. So even here with the latest 2015 existence, it's even faster and can handle larger and larger data sets. So if you've seen it in the past and said, oh, I don't know about that, definitely give it a revisit. It's probably one of the most powerful tools that I see that we have in the product for being able to find data. Can you tell I love it? I think you can. All right, so let's go on to the next which ties perfectly in with my next thing around the Business Analyzer. So the Business Analyzer is provided to you because you want to share information with people about your financial system, but you don't want them inside of SL. So I need someone to be able to monitor information, whether it's sales orders or AR balances or AP balances or all the items of the like. So I need a way to monitor that information, and I don't want them to have to get into SL. Two, I'd like it to be a graphical interface because, well, that's the kind of world we live in. We want it nice and pretty and graphical and interactive. And I also want another way to be able to link to pertinent information. So I have an Excel document, and I want this guy to be able to look at it, but I don't want to have to, tell him how to get to a SharePoint site or worry about him losing the link to the URL to get to the document. Or I want to have him to be able to view the management reporter documents, but again, it's a URL. That's where a management reporter report would be a URL. I don't want to have to worry about him reminding him or him losing the link to how to get to it. So I want to be able to provide this information, and that's exactly what the Business Analyzer is. It's basically a dashboard for we say it's for decision makers, but it could really be for anybody, whether your decision maker is your payables or receivable clerks, up to the CEO, CFOs who need to keep tab on certain things. So what is it? Again, a dashboard. What does it consume? Well, it consumes a couple different things. The first thing that it consumes are SSRS reports. Wow, that's wonderful. Why is that wonderful? Because I just showed you a way to create SSRS reports from Dynamics SL using Quick Query. So you do have that functionality built into the system that if you want to do more, we give you a way to start creating those. The second thing that it actually consumes a link to a Management Reporter report. What it is, and we'll take a look at it in a second, is just a little icon. You click on it, and it will open up Management Reporter. Also, it'll allow you to consume links to Excel documents. So if I have an Excel document that's out there, and I don't want to have to keep on giving him the URL to it, I can put it in a folder or someplace and just update it when I need to, and then just have a link sitting on his Business Analyzer for him to get to it. So again, it's really geared towards, again, providing you information as well. It can also be used to collaborate through, usually it says link, but I guess I now need to say Skype. So it will allow you to collaborate through Skype. So I could interact with it and say, hey, I have a question on this, and we could assign people to reports or just click directly to interact with Skype. The other thing about Business Analyzer as well is it deploys independently of Dynamics SL. So we don't need to be have SL Rich Client installed to be able to see this, which is obviously when we're doing this is the type of people that we want to use. Now, what do I need to use it? Well, you need to have, right now, you need to have Windows 8. It's a Windows 8 application that can run on your desktop tablet that's accessible to the store. It also is available through the Windows 8 platform for the phones as well. It is also available via the iDevices, the Apple Store. It's available versus on Android as well. So you have the ability to run all these on there. So you can get to those. This is the big thing to notice, is that you're running on Windows 7. As a caveat, there is an older version of this, but it doesn't do any of the things that I'm about to show you. So technically, yes, there is Business Analyzer built for just SSRS reports that runs on Windows 7, but going forward, really you can see all the development has been putting Business Analyzer out there on these different areas. Now, one note about licensing of this, you do need to have a light user license to register these things, so make sure you have your light user license. Even though the downloads from these stores are completely free, you do need to make sure that you're being compliant on the back end as well. So let's go ahead and take a look over on my image here real quickly of how that's going to work. So I'll go ahead and share my desktop again. Now I'm running Windows Server 2012 on this image, and I'll wait for you guys to get there. So when I go on to the desktop, it is a Windows 8 style app, so I will get some type of icon. And when I run the Business Analyzer, it'll go ahead and load it here for me. And what I'm looking at right now is that this is my list of reports that have been assigned to me. So these are the ones, here's my accounts payable. I can scroll to the right here and see there's some other ones as well, and all my partners know all the lovely data in here. So it's, top 5 customers with balances, all those items. Now all this information is available. These are really just snapshots of what is out there. So I can quickly see, hey, that looks good. Hey, that's red. I need to jump at it. Hey, why in the world is our payables balance so high? Shouldn't we do something about that? And if we want to do that, we can go ahead and click on that and open up that report. And when the report is open, we can then start interacting with it. And this allows us to do things we were talking about. I could do a link call with them if I had link installed on this image. I could copy the copy of this and paste this into my Word document, to my email, to my PowerPoint. Information gives me more information about when this was last run. I can edit this if I have access to the SSRS report editor, which will allow me to actually open up the original report, make an edit to it, and save it. But for the most part, people are going to be coming in here to click on the View button because they want to actually interact with the report. Again, that's a picture of the report. Now I'm actually opening up the report. In this case, it's opening it up inside of Internet Explorer, and it's allowing me to interact with it. And SSRS reports can be run on other devices other than your Windows desktop, so note that as a fact as well. So now I can click on the item, see the details, drill down to the details to see exactly what's going on with a specific person or not. So I've got all the capabilities that you would expect to have, but now available to me here inside of our web client. So allows me to view the information, go ahead and take action on it, view it, and then go down to the details. So that's the idea there of being able to view the web app information, and that's the example with an SSRS report. Now we also said that you can do links. The links are basically, that's all they are. For an Excel report, I'd see a different colored icon. It would just basically open up the Excel document for me. For a management reporter, this is a little bit different, and this would not generally be what they would see, but I just haven't had a chance to set it up properly on my demo image. But basically, they generally would not be asked to log in, just the way I'm set up here. But basically what they would do is they get the icon, they click on the icon, and it would pull up the management reporter report for them. They could interact with it, and it's the standard web-based interface. Again, the benefit of it to the end user is that they didn't have to know where to go to find it. It's already in their it's in their system. It's already set up for them. All they need to do is click on it and go from there. So it gives them a lot of capabilities. Again, Business Analyzer, great bit of functionality, again, to be able to present information to people inside your company. All right, let me go ahead and jump back over into my presentation. The last thing that I want to talk about is around another way, because we talked about sharing information, sharing it through the Business Analyzer. The last is through web apps. Web apps are new. If you're running on SL 2011, you won't have access to a lot of these things, but one area would be web apps running for SL 2015, and most recently, web apps for SL 2015 CU1. And the idea behind this is that it gives you a way to access reports. When I say access remotely, it can be on my laptop, it can be on my tablet, or it could be on my smartphone. So things we're about to show you will actually run on your tablet or smartphone. Now granted, if you're running a small smartphone, it probably won't look so big. If you're running the new iPhone 6 or next, whatever the latest Android phones are that are pretty big, it's probably pretty doable. But obviously, no, you're viewing a lot of information and you're familiar with the way things work. But technically it is able to be run. So what we've done here is with our web apps is to basically create interfaces that will allow us to access things. So you've hopefully seen my demos on all the different items. Again, all we need for you to access these web apps that we'll talk about here in a second is just a web browser on your device that supports HTML5. And if you're running something that's been released in the last 5+ years, you're pretty much going to be able to find some type of web browser that will run HTML5, whether it's native or not. You will have that functionality available to you. So that means we can run on Apple, Androids, Windows type devices, as well as Macintosh desktops. So I took a couple screenshots again just so you could see it, but one of the things that we've added into the web apps is the ability that all that stuff that I showed you today in Quick Query, as far as being able to view, sort, and select the information, is now available as a web app. The only piece that I showed you today that's not available is the ability to generate an SSRS report. That's the only feature. But I can open up the report, I can filter it, I can move columns around, all the things that I'm used to doing it. Now I can do that on my tablet. So you see a similar interface. I can drill back to the details. We've got an action button that will allow me to do all the things I'm used to doing, like being able to filter it, remove columns, rename columns, all those things. I even have my Excel capabilities, so I can do that connection. So if I click connection, it will go ahead and generate an Excel document that is connected if I need that. Now, obviously, as a caveat, you need to have Excel on the device that you're running, but if you had Excel device on that device, you could go ahead and view that information. Now, another new thing that just came, that was actually available if you're an SL 2015 to be official with you. So SL 2015, you can do quick queries. SL 2015 CU1, which just released last month, allows you to do a new feature called web reporting. What it does is it gives you access to, officially they're telling me, 78% of the reports that you run inside of SL. Those reports are the ones that don't need pre-processes, don't need you to interact with the reports to run, or special forms, things like invoices, checks. We're not going to allow you to just print those out willy-nilly, so those are not there as well currently. But the idea is that you can come into the reporting area. You're going to see a list of all the reports that are available. You'll be able to go ahead and choose one area, for example, accounts payable, and go ahead and run a specific report. Now, when you click on a report, you're going to say, hey, this looks like a web version of the ROI interface. And I'd say you are exactly correct. So now all that same capabilities, choosing the different formats, selecting, doing the sorting, using templates that have been built for you, all available for you there. Now, the part that's slightly different here with this interface is that you have this new thing called the output options area, where it's basically showing you, okay, think about it. I'm not going to ask that the Crystal Report Writer or any of its files be installed on your tablet or your smartphone. So when you're running these reports, they're not happening locally on your device. They're actually happening at the server. So I'm happy to say that there's a new service, and it's not called App Server. It's a new service, no App Server needed, a service that runs on your server that when you come into the system and you say, I would like to run this report, and you click that Submit Request button, it sends it off to the server. The server gets the information and it processes the report, puts it in the proper location that's been specified, and then what will happen for the end users, they'll be able to go ahead and click on these items, and it says completed, but the statuses are submitted, processing, and completed. So you've submitted the request, it's processing it right now, and now it's done with it. And what will happen is if you click the plus sign next to any of these items that have been listed here, it'll allow me to go ahead and choose it. And what I need to do is tell it that I'd like to get the file. So it's going to get the file from the server and put it onto your machine, and then allow you to open it. In this case, it's going to open up the report so I can view it. Now, all that information is available out there. It's available for me to view. It will keep the reports out there as long as I want, or I could go through and go into these different delete modes where I can choose to delete all of them, delete one at a time. So basically the nice thing about it is it's keeping the reports out there as long as you want them. Again, you can delete them as quickly as you want or leave them for as long as you want and pull them up and look at them at a later time. So some great functionality there about that information. So that's brand new because this means that you can take and share information with more people, give more people access to just the reporting. Maybe, I just want to set Jeff up in the system. Here are the 10 reports he needs to see. That's it. I don't need to set him up as a full rich client. I mean, I don't need to give him access to the full rich client. I'll set him up as a rich client person, let him get into the system, so no longer does Jeff need to bother me about these 10 reports he always asks me about. He can go out here, run them, view them at any time, and see the information. So that's, wow, with 2 minutes to spare, that's a lot of things to share. And I'm glad that you guys stayed with me today to learn about these great ways of sharing information. Hopefully you guys learned a lot today. If you have any questions on what you're seeing, Heather, if you could put it my email address, which is, or actually, can I type it to him? v-jsewin at microsoft.com. And hopefully I spelled that right. So if you have any questions at all, please feel free to email me those. With that, I'm going to go ahead and let Heather talk to you. Heather, you're going to give him the event. Let Heather talk to you about giving us feedback. While she's doing that, I'm going to go scroll back up through here and start reading your questions. Again, if I don't get to them, please take down my email address, v-jsewin at microsoft.com if I don't get to them at this time. Heather?
All right, thank you, Jeff. And you should all be seeing the survey URL in the chat window. If you enjoyed today's webcast, or if you have feedback on how we can provide you with a better event, please let us know by completing the survey. To download the slide deck, you can click on the icon in the bottom of your console that looks like a computer monitor, then click on the Attachments tab to save the file. And with that, I'll turn it over to Jeff to wrap up with questions.
Great. Thank you, Heather. All right, so I'm going to go through your questions quickly here. As far as for DocShare, we do require a SharePoint site, whether it's 2010, 2013. We don't require, we can even work with the free version. We don't require anything special like Foundation, and I apologize, the names have probably changed over the years, but we do require SharePoint, but nothing special. How to ensure that QuickSend delivers the invoices correctly. Delivering invoices via QuickSend. Okay, so the QuickSend items, again, you set up in the system where you want those to be emailed to. You can set up one email address. You can set up multiple email addresses. You can then go into the system at any time and review the history to see when it was sent, if it was successfully sent, or even resend things that have already been sent. So that's how you do that. So I think that actually answers your second question. Does it retain a history of what's been sent? And the answer is yes. So good questions there. All right, the ROI email capability, does that interact with the local client Outlook instance or the server instance? Okay, very good question. So when you're running the QuickSend feature, the email functionality is happening on the server, but when you're running the print preview process in ROI and you're choosing the email capabilities, that is looking locally. So that does look locally to see where it's got that information. All right, quick queries into SSRS reports. Helen, please feel free. I know I quickly ran through it with that just based on my time, but Helen, if you want to reach out to me, I would happy to walk you through, or anybody can contact me if you'd like me to show you how to turn a quick query into an SSRS report. There's some questions about the Android device. I'm not aware of any prerequisites that you need to be set up on the Android device. The thing that I would check here is one that you've downloaded it from the site correctly. The second is that there is a whole document and information on how to install the Business Analyzer companion app on your server. So I would think if you're having any issues on that, you can go ahead and email me, and I know there's a couple I think we did this, if I'm not mistaken, we did this at Convergence this year. So there are some video training or video webinars that we've done that will walk you through the whole process of going through and setting up the companion app, because it is a couple extra steps. Once you get the companion app for the Business Analyzer set up, then everybody can access it, but there are definitely some extra steps that you need to take. So again, email me at v-jsewin at microsoft.com and I will shoot you the link to that information. What licensing is required for web apps quick query? Okay. all web apps need the light user license, so you need to have a light user license to be able to use any of the web apps features. As far as being able just to view quick queries, that's everyone's going to have that functionality to view them. And if you're in a, open up a quick query and you do a filter and save that filter, that's all going to be available to everyone. Everyone has that. Again, you need the light user license to use web apps, but QuickQuery does that. Now, the only thing different with QuickQuery is if you want to add custom views, then there's some some licensing needs. But besides that, you should be fine. Now, with that, I think I got everyone's, but as always, and I say it for the umpteenth time, my email address, v-jsewin@microsoft.com. I would be glad to discuss any of the questions that you have on any of the wonderful ways to share information. With that, I thank you so much for your time today, and have a wonderful day. Heather?
All right. Thank you, Jeff, for your presentation today. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Again, just one quick reminder to complete the survey for today's event, and you will find that link posted in the chat area. And with that, I hope everyone has a great day.